If your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. Good afternoon to one and all gathered here. We take this wonderful opportunity to welcome the galaxy of thinkers and all the other distinguished guests on this special occasion of the inauguration ceremony 2022 hosted by Sairam Engineering College, Ieee, Education Society, Student Run Chapter.
Appreciation is the highest form of prayer, for it acknowledges the presence of good. Wherever you shine the light of your thankful thoughts. Dear God, into your hands we place our worries, cares, and troubles. Into your wisdom we place our path, direction, and goals. Into your love we place our lives. So let us begin this aspiring day with a prayer song by Srinidhi from second year ID Card.
Thank you, Srini. Now I welcome Dr. Manuel Castro, Professor, Electrical and Computer Engineering, Spanish University, Emirates President of IEEE Education Society, Past Director of IEEE Spain, to give the inaugural address.
Yes, thank you. Good morning there in good afternoon there in Chennai and good morning here in Madrid. Can you hear me okay there? Yes, it's a real pleasure to be here today with you in the distance from Spain. It's like to be there, but it's complicated at these times to move all around the world. And it's a pleasure to be here in this starting of the work of the IEEE Sairam Engineering College student branch. Can you hear me okay?
Students, good afternoon. And I hope so you'll be very calm and listen to the chief guest what he's speaking. Okay. So first, myself introduce myself, Dr. Shankari, working in the Department of Information Technology. Okay, for the past 15 years. So we want to meet you all before you are entering into the department. Okay, that's why we gathered here. Our HOD department, HOD just now she arrived. Okay, welcome ma'am. Please be silent. Guest is in the virtual meet. Okay, you know very well. Okay, please maintain silence. He is waiting, and we have to start the session now. Okay. Okay. I hope that today inspires ideas and discussions around the ways that we can make our community in a better place. Okay. So good afternoon, one and all present here, and very much delighted to see you all in this gathering. First, I welcome our chief guest, Dr. Manuel Castro. He is working as a professor in electrical and computer engineering at the Spain University. Okay, he is here around the, in virtual meet. He is going to deliver the inaugural address as well as a speech on the the topic that is related how we are going to manage the online education in the pandemic period. He is also an emeritus president of Ieee Education Society, and I hope so he is the right person to inaugurate this education society. Okay, welcome, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon there in Chennai, in India, and good morning here in Madrid, in Spain, in Europe. It's a real pleasure to be here representing IEEE Education Society and welcoming the SRAM Engineering College student branch. IEEE really focused, of course, in the student branches and in the student activities there, and they are working with the people along all the world with IEEE Education Society people working in the area of the improving education engineering and trying to have the best of our activities in all the world. I will start with a short introduction of the IEEE Engineering Society. I was speaking with the present president, Edmundo Tobar, that is too from Spain, and he has in the website a welcome to the people that are around the world. The Education Society is founded in the 1957, several years ago. It's working and as the objective to have an international organization to promote, enhance, advance, and disseminate the state-of-the-art in the scientific education and information in the sources in the area of engineering education. This is really important. The theory and practice of the education and educational technology involved in the effective delivery of domain knowledge in all the fields where there is interest of IEEE. In this case, is in IEEE education. The society did a strategic plan, tried to advance. They have several activities. I will summarize the best ones. And we are really involved with all the aspects of the IEEE, like women engineering, young professionals, student branches, and diversity and inclusion, as we are doing in the corresponding IEEE committee there. We are presenting in the several areas of the IEEE management, the IEEE technical activities board and technical activities there, strategic plans. And we do, of course, society commitments with the several different committees in the type and the society review in the 2015. We developed a strategic framework, building technology communities. They are really important to have the communities there, going to the tools and platforms, new technology, new audiences, like this new student branch, new contents and new deliveries in the areas of the IEEE Education Society. In the leadership, we have a board or governors. We are 12 people as well as the executive committee people there. And they are directed by Edmundo Tobar, is the present president for the 2021-2022. Past president is Ras Meyer from the United States. Senior past president is Claudio da Rocha from Brazil. And the next president in the 2023 and 2024 will be Martin Llamas, again from Spain. We have 4 vice presidents. I will say in the later some big activities from them. A secretary and a treasurer for the management of all the society activities. One of the major activities we have is the conference and technical meetings. We have 5 main conferences: the Frontiers in Education, Edu9, TAIL, and Learning with Moocs. TAIL is the more involved, close to you. This is developed in the region 10, and this year the conference will be in December in Hong Kong. The chapters and the student branch used to be involved with the IEEE Education Society conferences through the technical sponsorship activities there. The present vice president of the conference and technical meetings is Melanie Campi from Brazil too. Publications is the second big aspect of the society. We have 4 major publications: the Transactions on Education, Transactions on Learning Technologies, IEEE Rita, that is a Spanish and Portuguese main oriented publication, but is two having publications in English, and the section of the IEEE Access, that is the new one there. The vice president for the publications area is Arnold Pierce, that is for Sweden. We have these several things there, and this is a really good opportunity to try to introduce and to publish some papers or good activities from your college and engineering activities or the student branch inside it there. We have the vice president of educational activities. Steve Watkins is the vice president there, and he's from the United States. And major activities there is the distinguished lecture programs. If you develop some conference or have a really good activity there or big activity there, you can have some support from the society, having some distinguished lecture that could be there in your facilities in Chennai there. We have collaboration in the webinars with IEEE Educational Activities, Teaching Excellence Hub, as we have recently developed. Is an area to have curated contents that will help to the people to have the best engineering education materials for using in academia, in industry, and so on there. And we have to the Merlot STEAM portals. Merlot is OER, Open Educational Resources, and we are sharing information with the Merlot inside our things. And this year we developed, for example, the second annual student contest of OER together with Merlot. And this is a good opportunity too for the students to have some rewardings and to put the OER you develop in practice. A couple of weeks ago, we did the IEEE Education Week. We have a full week of webinars there. It was a really nice week there, having several presentations, and it was a really active activities there for the people. And finally, the membership is the last area of the IEEE Education Society. Rosa Vasconcelos from Portugal is the vice president now, and they are dealing with the membership activities and membership support, student branches support, and all chapter supports that are doing there. In numbers, we have more than 3,000 members along all the world. In Region 10, in the area of Far Asia, China, India, Japan, and Australia and Oceania, we have around 74 members. We increased 100 members from the last year. And more or less, we are around 20% of the people in the society is female, 70% of the people is male. And we're trying to increase as much as possible the people in female, because we try to have a more gender balance for the future there. And this is the short introduction. At the end, if you have any comment or any questions about the society, I will answer too. You can send emails to the president, to Edmundo Tobar, or to the president-elect Martin Llamas, or to the operation managers to have this kind of information. And I will continue then with the talking of the technical activities, talking about the adaptation of the education for all, the long way from the distance online through the pandemic time. I will do it in a different way there. I try to do a flipped keynote. I don't know if you are aware of the flipped learning methodology to do classrooms. Flipped basically is you start with the conclusions, which you put in an inverse activities there. In these cases, I will start with the conclusions and I will develop in the several aspects and several areas we will have during the conversation. The world and the engineering world is a multifaceted. We have several visions there, and we try to approach to our engineering educational environment and to have the best tools for our students in online, in on-site, in blended learning activities there, trying to have the best for us. The adapted education tried to have education for all, tried to have implications in the diversity, in the minorities, in the special needs, adapting education for the one that needed it. All of our students, if you have thousands of students in my university, I work in distance education university in Madrid, and we have around 200,000 students there. And we try to have every student as individuals and every student as different one, having different activities there. And this is the best thing of the blended in the way to the adapted information. And I have to make a short tribute to two persons in my university. First one is Lorenzo García Aretio. He was the founder of the IEEE, of the UNED chair of the distance education, UNESCO chair. And he developed in the last 20 years a lot of work in the area of education, diversity education, and adapted education, mainly in the inequality and equity, trying to be in the learning concept must drive to improve integral, intention, autonomous, and socialization of the activities there. Lorenzo García Aretio retired a couple of years ago, and now the present chair is Ángeles Sánchez Elvira Paniagua. He's another professor from my university, and he's doing the work in this case. And I like to thank to one of the most known people in the engineering education, in the technology and education activities there. His name is Tony Bates. He's in Canada, and he tried to develop a really good vision of the distance and the online education mediated with technology. One of the best things is that the good teaching may have a poor choice of technology. If you have a really good teaching in face-to-face, for example, you didn't need any technology, only your blackboard. But a good technology never can save a bad teaching. This is really important there. We need to have good contents, we need to have good teachers, we need to have the best transmission environment. And if we put good technology, we can have a best place to have a mediated technology environment there. For face-to-face, to the online environments there. Learning online requires students that should be more self-disciplined. You see during the pandemic time, you need to have a training and practice on these kind of things there. You need to be a really more focusing and engaged student there. And now is a time to share the activities between the face-to-face and traditional and online education, because all the universities in the world came from the pandemic time, and we introduced a lot of online elements in every on-site activities there. Personal priorities in online learning, of course, is to increase the access and the flexibility there, develop 21st century skills like digital transformation and so on, reduce inequalities in the education systems. I have to have a more diverse, a more inclusive, and more adapted education systems, and increase, of course, the cost effectiveness in the education there. I will have 4 different aspects. I will touch 4 different aspects in this talking today. I will talk a little bit about the education evolution, social differences and the framework in the world, practical work and competences, mainly oriented to labs and remote labs. I mainly work as my research activity in the remote lab activities there. And I will to finish with some bits about technology enhanced learning and open education. This was 2 different visions of the higher education and the technology. I started to make academic education in the 1983, a lot of time ago. Next year I will do 40 years of being in the academia. I have now 39 years in the academia. And when I started, I see that the world was divided in 3 different areas. One is the distance education, second one was the face-to-face, and third one was the mixed one. We didn't have in these moments online education because the online world didn't exist. Internet didn't exist in these moments. We have some communications. We start to having the faxes and some electrical communications. We don't have emails, and we have only the post mail to connect to the people there. And was really challenging to have distance education at this moment, mainly using writing handbooks and mainly using post mails to connect to the people. 70 years later, in the 2000, there was the arriving of the teaching enhanced learning. This teaching enhanced learning make a lot of changes in our world. we have the way to go from the distance to online education. We are starting to talk about the blended learning because we have technology to enhance the learning in the several activities there. And this technology enhanced learning did a new environments for the learning in the world, in the academic world, mixing and having face-to-face and online activities and distance education in blended mode, personal mode. We integrated distance and online, synchronous education, asynchronous education, formal, lifelong learning, and formal, but always with the idea to have a blended learning in the activities there. And now in the 2020, in the pre-COVID time, we have all the world was mixed, was integrated. We have universities and academies that was mainly oriented to distance or online, others to face-to-face, and others mainly blended learning, trying to integrate it. And that was the pre-COVID time. But in the COVID time, in the last 2 years, in 2020 and 2021, and now in the 22, as some people start going out from the COVID time, we have all online activities in the world in the 2020 and the 2021. In 2021, we go back to having there, and now we have only 2 worlds that are really connected there: distance online together and face-to-face and online together, because the online education is coming to be there in any environment there. You can use the on-site education for the teaching, and you can have some more based in the talkings of the teacher in the room. But normally you have another online tools in the user. You can have a learning management system. You can have some assignments and appointments for the workings in online. You can have some forums. You can have WhatsApps. Everything one of these is an online education and online tools that are applied to your face-to-face and on-site data. And this is the blended plus activities. And this is the way to have a more adapted learning for the people there. During the pandemic time, we have some issues there. For the major part of the teachers, there was a really big task to move a really big square, because you don't know how to manage in the online educations. You have to go to the remote learning. You have to go to the remote transmission and the video conference systems. You have to move to the remote assignments and remote work. And for other people that we was working in online on distance, we was more suffer because we have a round environment to move with less effort than the face-to-face activities there. But all these kind of things was impacting, of course, in our environment. And in some places will be really complicated to back forward. So some people continue using some tools of the online, and in the future will be online mediated with on-site activities there. We need to have a better credibility for the online and for the face-to-face as we have there, because the credibility was a little bit damaged during the pandemic time. We have to, of course, have a high quality education, improve and focus in the evaluation of the students and trying to have the competencies evaluation there. The cost used to be higher if you have a mixed environment occurred, and in some places we have some cutoffs of the academic people there. The major part of the people in the online education is that when you are doing an on-site education, you have less people involved there. You have the teachers, the students, and some other people that used to be around in there. But when you have involved in the online education, normally you need a lot of more people. You need administrators of the online platforms, instructional designs, content designs, curators for the activities on the educational materials, tutors, animators. You need to involve a lot of people in the educational activities there, because the online normally is a more distributed people and more distributed activities there. You have the students, but you have another relations with the students too. You can have students for the direct students people there, but you have some other peer students that work together with the students to have some kind of review activities or evaluation tasks. You have senior students that are involved in sometimes to manage and tutor them to have the best activities and the best competences acquired by the students. And of course, all these activities are really good for the activities of the people. The people is in distance, is online, they didn't know one to the others. Sometimes they meet in some places, but sometimes not. And we are changing the teaching center activities. That typically is 1 credit of teaching center of 10 hours of teaching. We are going to the new environment of the online activities there, as we do in Europe in general, in the European Union with the Bologna process, that the teaching center is a center in the student. Every 25 hours, 25 to 30 hours of the students is 1 European credit transfer system. This is really important. And in the educational process, we have 2 another actors. Normally, our students that are a bit older students, they used to work, they have family, they have elders, they have parents, they have child, they have husband or wife is there, they have a full family there, and they have their social relations. And the academic studies will be involved in all these parts. This is complicating a lot of our environment. For the typical on-site engineering academy that you have there, all the students more or less have the same age, or less are more homogeneous in the environment and social contents. But in the case when you are doing things in online and distance environment, this is a bit more complicated because you have a lot of different social environments, different family environments, different goal environments. And it was more important during the time of the pandemic time. We went to the pandemic time, we went to the hybrid world, having some part of distance, having some part online, having some part of face-to-face. And the complete lockdown have a big complicated there. The most used word in these times was the uncertainty. It was really complicated, the uncertainty time there, because we have to deal with, you never know what you will have the next day. And of course, we having some acceleration on the remote and hybrid activities there, but with a lot of cost. Mainly the cost we have was the cost for the people. You have here typical environment for a home in the pandemic time. Sometimes you have some childs in different ages there. You have some people working there with father, mother, grandfather, grandmothers there. All people is working in the same short environment, and was really challenging for the people to try to survive in this case. Quality have some issues there in this moment. Credibility have some issues. The evaluation was much more complicated. The cost was up, and the good have and the health was down there in this moment there. And mainly we did all the things due to the overwork. All the teachers did a lot of overwork for the people, and all the students did a lot of overwork for activities there. In some cases, this overwork was better for the competences and was better for the work that we developed and the activities we developed. But this overwork was tiring, and some people was really exhausted, and we have some mental issues, mental health issues during the pandemic time. This was the same in the events we have. We have moving from the conferences to the typical online conference there. We have a lot of overwork. I estimated that the overwork for the people organizing a conference during these 2 years was from 200 to 300% of work than a typical one. And we like to go back to the previous times. You are there today in a face-to-face class there. We are using the best of the face-to-face, trying to have online activities because it was really expensive and really was time challenging to be there today for me from Spain. I like to be there, but it was complicated for this time. In other times we can do it. We can go back to this kind of normality, having all the people being together, but we can use to this new environment to try to have and to incorporate the best people from the best sides, trying to have short visits or short technical activities there. And this is really important to have there. And this is really important to have the diversity, as I told you in the beginning. We have a lot of people in this conference. We was around 300 people in the conference there, but we have a really nice bunch of diversity activities there, diversity in the cultures, diversity in the gender, diversity activities there. And in this moment, we was in Dubai in 2019. Dubai, as you know, is an emirate, an Arab emirate. It's really complicated to have this kind of activities there, but we challenge there and we try to have there the best in this moment there. The evaluation and the evolution of the education I saw there. how we evolve in education. We evolve from the first times of the typical older times for the Greeks to having short groups in the parapetetics and working and walking with the people. We go to the Middle Ages with the starting of the universities and academia. We walk to the time of the 18th century with the time of the short groups in academy too. We went to the 20th century with the massive people there in academies, and we walk back now in the 21st century. We will have normal in some places, some reduced groups. We integrate technology, and we have the best of the two worlds, of the technology world using online and certifications, and the best of the face-to-face. And we have to integrate now, of course, the
Basically, we are coming on the project. For this project, we are focusing on goal number 15, life on land. And in this goal number 15, many.
Can you hear me okay? Yes. And we have in these moments, of course, to integrate some social media activities inside the learning now, because it's mandatory for the student. This was a vision we have in the beginning of the 20th century. We have this vision, as will be at the end of the 20th century, at the beginning of the 21st century, that the teacher will put all the books and all the information in the heads of the students directly there. This is the base of Matrix, as you know, trying to be connected to a machine and to have all the learning things there using artificial intelligence and machine learning. But today, we didn't reach this moment there. We have to maintain the education, as we know, we have to maintain the transmission of education. The role of the teacher is changing in some places there. We have, as a teacher, we have to transmit the knowledge, we have to tutor and to maintain the process of the education process, and we are mediated with the students, and we are mediated with the technology. In some cases, for example, using the libraries without books. We use the library to meet the people, to have the people working together, to using the books, but in online environment, and trying to maintain and obtain the best of the social media there. And we have to use for the ubiquitous and the technology education there. This is really important to have these kind of things there. This is really important for us to maintain the things there and to have them mediated and to have the activities mainly promoted to the remote labs and the virtual labs we have for the competences in practical. I will try to speed up a little bit some paces. We start with the Moocs revolution in the 21st century. This is the vision we have at the beginning of the 21st century of a super teacher, a real Superman, super teacher, that we have to make contents, diffuse contents, informal, critical learning, confidence. And of course, we have to make the contents in engaging the students. We have to engage the students, assessment there, have some reflections, transmit the knowledge, and have the best for the student. We have to change from a typical only teacher that we are in a blackboard making some exposition of the lesson to have a lot of new roles to have to do in there. And we have to do this transformation during the 21st century for the people. We have to know all these things there. We have to know in the ubiquitous, artificial intelligence, narrative, opening, disruptive, deep learning, integrate federated, integrate flipped learning, have hangouts, game-like in learning. We have to make a lot of new things there in the evolution from the 1990s, from the contents in the 20s for the mainly learning environments. And now with the big data and some different adaptive learning, we have to be the best to promote the education with our students. But we have to do these things having in mind the social world we have. We are changing the social work, of course. We are changing, we're starting many million years ago with only 100,000 people, mainly in Africa there. But in the 18th century, with the Industrial Revolution, we have the first billion of people, millions of people, then mainly in the industrial world. In the 21st century, we expect to have in the 2060 or 2070, 2080, the 10,000 million people, then 10 billion people in the American environment. We continue increasing the people. The increasing is not as higher and not as large as we have in the last part of the 20th century. We are having a smaller thing there. At the beginning, we expect to have the 10 billion people the 10,000 million people in the 2050. Probably we will arrive this in the at the end of the 21st century, in the 2080, 2090 at the end. But this is really important because our world is changing a lot. Our world, in some part of the world, we have making a skin effect because the people is looking for water. For example, you can see it in Africa, as you see in the middle. Major part of the big cities are in the skin effect. In Latin America, in the major part of Asia, excepting India, because India is fully populated, as well as the west part of China or Japan. Europe, of course, is fully populated because we are really old environment there, or the east part of North America is fully populated there. But the people is changing in the movement there. We are going, a lot of people is moving to large cities. In the future, in the 2050, more than half of the people in the world, probably 60%, will live in large cities in the world. We have a mega cities in this moment there in the world. And all these things are doing some more differences. And we have to fight against the difference, mainly with education. In the 2014, I did this first study to see how was well involving in the people, the social media. And we have two new countries in the world. Larger populated country was China, second was India. But we have a Facebook and Twitter countries that was larger than the other countries in the world. Facebook was having 1,000 people users, Twitter was having 500 people users, and it was the starting of the social media activities in the world. Every country, as well as every social media, has some common environment there, has some common culture, has some common activities there, has some common language in some cases too. And in this moment, we have only around 40% of the people connected to internet. But if we see now in the last year, in 2021, Facebook, Google Apps, YouTube, and WhatsApp was larger than any country in the world. Facebook has more than closer to 3,000 million users. Google Apps, YouTube, and WhatsApp was in the area of the 2,000 million users there too. China and India are more closer than we have in 10 years ago. And we have WeChat, Instagram, LinkedIn before USA, and of course, Twitter as other countries there. Internet is increasing. We have now 60% of penetration more or less on internet in the world. And as much as going the internet penetration, as much as we will have these social media countries there. And the people is changing in the things there. We are changing in the people, the kinds of intelligence. We are having the more knowledge intelligence that we have there, the typical spatial, naturalistic, logical mathematics, existential, interpersonal. But we have two new ways to see the intelligence, and we are trying to do in this case much more there. The emotional intelligence and the social intelligence. They are really important, mainly for the personal activities or for the business activities there. Emotional is mainly being the things in the today. They are mainly based in empathy, and they're mainly basic in to see the relations we have to have the best reality. And the social, that is managing the things for the future. They are managing the today actions for the future, and we try to survive and to have personalities for the future. And we have some relation with the generations we have now. We are coming from the 20 generations of I part of the baby boomers in the generation theirs, in the 60s, activities in the 60th decade. We have later the generation X, the generation Y, the millennials people there, generation Zeta, and now the alpha generation, that is the first one that have a lot of contents in digital transformation and technology, and now the beta generation that is starting in this 2020 people, and they will arrive in 10, 15 years more, they will be in the schools too. This is really important to know when you are academic, because the generations have different characteristics, different functionalities, different ideas, different ways to work, different ways to move, and different important things there. And we have to know it is to have a really good academic activity there. How do we handle this with engineering and the practical competences there? This is the typical things that we do in any engineering time there for the freshmen, sophomores, juniors, or seniors, mainly in the English academic environments. We start with the theory, make exercises, make grading and evaluation, assessment, practical comment, real labs, and final grading. This is a typical one we did in our face-to-face activities. But from my point of view, as I doing this in the last year, in the last 20 years, this is really important to have for the freshmen and more advancing as possible to the real labs there. It's really important to have real labs to avoid as much as possible at the beginning the environment of the simulation and virtual labs and remote labs too, because this is really important for the young people to touch things. When you are doing in engineering, you need to touch, and it's really important to touch. As you are evolving to be sophomore, juniors, or seniors, you can increase the activities for the simulations, for all the kind of virtual labs, remote labs, pocket labs, and anything there. And in all the moments, it's really important to have this grading evaluation as assessment, because it's really important for the students and for the teachers to know how they are taking the competences, how they are including the competences in the work they are doing there. This is my personal vision of these kind of things in the life, doing for the people in on-site or doing for the people in online too. The labs evolution, having in the last 10 years, a lot of different evolution there. We're starting with the real labs, of course, in any lab that you have there in your engineering school. We have simulators, better using simulators at the beginning, in the 20, 30 years ago. And we go there later, to the part of the new simulators we have. We have now a really good new simulators, Spices based, other ones there, electronic workbench and so on there, MathLab, MathCAD, and so on. They are really good simulation. They have a really good graphic user interfaces, but have in mind always that you are working in simulation environment. In the simulation, everything works because everything are models of the things that you are doing. In general, they are not real models. In general, they are virtual models and mathematical models, and everything should be possible there. When you are doing a work in a real environment, sometimes the simulations and the virtual labs didn't work. And this is the importance of the remote labs. The remote labs, that is one of the, or the more integrated time now in the facilities there, mainly in the distance and online education, of course, is to include and to engage the students with the remote labs and the real labs they have at the other end. They are doing the same things as they are doing with a real lab there. And they are having the same restrictions as they have in the lab. If you are doing a wrong things, you are having a wrong answer from the lab, of course. This is not models, this is not mathematical models, this is not simulated models, this is real lab that you will do it. And this is really important to have this because the remote lab have several advantages from the real labs. The big one is that the remote labs are 24-hour open. Instead, the labs that you only can have access to them probably 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week. You can do the labs when you like, at your home, in your study time, in any moment there. This is the best advantage there. The more disadvantage for the remote labs is that they are different. They are expensive, but they are different in the expensive. They are more expensive in the development there, and in the integration with the internet, and integration with the tools. You have to use it to share the labs with other users in a moment, or to having a private use of the lab in the booking system there. But the best part is to share the both environments, the real lab and the remote lab there. And you can do it in anything there. And the last evolution of the labs is the pocket labs. The pocket lab is a new concept we have for the labs, and you can have the pocket labs in the hands of the students, mainly at home to work in them. Pocket labs used to be a low-cost labs. You can be based in Legos, in Arduinos, in Raspberry Pis, etc. And in these cases, you can have the labs with you. Having for the institution, for example, 50 years ago in my university, we developed one of the first pocket labs in the world. There was not really a pocket lab, it was a briefcase lab. And we sent this lab to the students by post mail and the students did the labs at home to do all the practical part of the things there. In these cases, we avoid the transfer and mobility of the students and the changes, and to leave the students and the working to have the different activities there. Today we have, of course, reducing in the size. Today we have them reducing in the cost, and this is really important to have this. In this case, the students can have all the things there and can use all of them to have the best competencies practicals there. And the last part of the labs evolution is the farm labs or federated labs. When you have only one lab, it's complicated to share it in a remote environment, having bookings and so on. And in some places, you can have a farm of the labs, several labs that are doing the same things. Then you increase the availability for the students. Federated labs, then you can have, in this case, with the software, to have the balanced work in the lab. And now we are doing, of course, labs in the cloud. That is the new environment then. And we have other companies, some spin-offs, some startups that are doing a lot of work there, mainly for the recorded labs. In this case, we use a real lab. We record all the positions and all the transitions of the lab, and the students see the lab as this was a real lab, but was pre-recorded. The answers and the effect of the lab is the same as the real one. What you are not doing this in this moment, a real lab with you. This is really used today for the labs in academy, mainly for the health environment there, for the medical and health environment or chemical environment, that they are really complicated to do this one because they have different liquids, different threads, different activities there, and you need a lot of time to have the different activities there. Here you have some labs we have in my university for photovoltaics, wind labs, different one there, or others like we have for robotics, Internet of Things, smart devices, on STEM education for the people. This is really important, as I say, to have this kind of competences, practical activities there with on-site and real labs or with remote labs. And of course, you can have synergies with the other environments like simulations, virtual labs, and so on. But always remind that you need to touch during your engineering competencies practical. To finish my work, I talk a little bit about the education, going to the open education. In the world of education, in the online education, we are starting to talk about the learning objects. Learning objects are small pieces of education activities that you can put in there. The learning object was defined by IEEE 30 years ago as a small unit of educational contents. And in this case, you have talking about open educational resources. That is typical for the library of resources. A lot of teachers use this kind of open educational resources to be integrated with the academic activities and academic syllabus and academic lessons, and to be used by the students. We, in this moment, several years ago, 15 years ago, we go to the open courseware. We open our course contents, mainly led by the MIT in the United States. They develop a lot of open courseware activities and put the contents available to the people there in an open way. You can now see how the lessons inside the MIT are doing there, and they are doing with the real slides, real educational tools that they use there. You didn't see, in some cases, the video classes, you didn't see activities there, you don't have tutoring, but you can see the content there. This was one step more in the activities there with the OCW, and now we are in the time of the Moocs. The Moocs are the next one activity, trying to include too much students there. We integrate the recording of the activities there in video activities there. In some Moocs, we have some tutoring, some Moocs are self-managed by the students and the people there, but we can have there. We try to have, in these cases, all these open contents in any place and the access online there. We developed in my department, for example, one of the first remote labs integration in Moocs. The name today is more used, is MOOL, Massive Online Open Laboratories, and we integrate it in the courses. We have to see when we are doing a MOOC that the MOOC should have a really good curation there. Some MOOCs are really bad quality there, but we have a lot of MOOCs with a really good quality, and it's really important to try to start with this activity there. A lot of universities go to the MOOC area, but the MOOCs activities are expensive, are timing and teacher consuming there, and this is sometimes complicated, and some universities has a lot of losses in the MOOCs arena there because it's complicated to manage and to have the financial sustainability with the MOOCs activity. But as I tell, we develop several editions of our MOOCs of the base of electrical and electronic circuits in practical time there. We integrated using a MOOC from the MIT for the theory part of the activities there. We integrated activities, we put all the videos, we developed all the activities in practical activities with a real laboratory, with the busier real laboratory there. And we did a lot of evaluation and things. We did this MOOC in Spanish because we have a university, a major part of the students are in Spanish activities there, and the MOOC is available in Spanish. And we developed in several activities in 2013, near 10 years ago. We have more than 2,000 and 3,000 students. We have several booking systems to share the students. And in this moment, we have more than 500,000 of access to the real remote labs. And it was really stressing for the access people there. We have a really short and really low final completion of the people. We have around 200, 100, 200 people that finish all of them, but a lot of people do a lot of simulations, do a lot of remote lab activities, and do a lot of modules of the activities there. And we are going in this kind of open learning to the old traditional psychology vision of the learning pyramid. This learning pyramid was taken with William Glasner for the 1990s, and they say that face-to-face and traditional education is typical from 5 to 10% of the retention is the one you have in a classroom. If you are engaged and have audiovisuals, you can have 20%, as we have now in this with this transmission. If you have practical contents, demonstration, video contents, you can go to a 30 to 50% with a blended learning activities, integration, online, on-site, and laboratories you can have there. And the major level of retention is when you have project-based learning, problem-based learning activities, and you do competences and you do practical competences with your work. Of course, if you teach one activity, you teach one lesson, is when you have the major part of the retention because you are doing all the work of the internal acquisition of the educational activities, and you have to transmit to other people there. How is working now the open learning? Open learning is trying to be more open for the people, putting this available for all the people. Is like a puzzle, like a Lego to put in there. But we have to be, in this case, oriented to high quality too. We have open learning as we have open activities that are low quality everywhere there. We are trying to promote the MOOCs with Q, having quality in part of the MOOC activities there. We have a movement in education in Europe of open education in Europe. We have an activities of having high quality activities there in Europe, trying to have the innovation, learning, collaborative activities for the people there. And this is all the things that I like to say to you today. It's a real pleasure to have you here. If you have in any moment any comment, questions, we can have some questions now online in synchronous. But if you have any comment or any questions, or you like to send me, my email is available in every place there. You put Manuel Castro UNED in any Google activities, you will see my email in my university UNED, and we can talk and we can have some exchanging of information there. Have in mind that we have to go to the adapted education and open education to all. It's a long way from the face-to-face to the distance, and the pandemic time was having a lot of impact to the people on this time there. We have to make our education to all the people. We have to make adapted education using as much as possible the diversity, minorities, special needs there. And we have to have in mind that every student is different, and we need to have the education for every student you have there, not only for the average student, not for the best students, not for the low capacity students or the different special needs students there. We have to transmit our contents, and we have to deliver our engineering contents mainly for everyone there. Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure to be here with you. And if you have some comments or some questions, we can do it now in online then. Thank you very much. I can hear you now.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your amazing insights.
But you need to talk directly to the microphone because I can hear but really loudly. I never been in Chennai. I'm so sorry. I was in India, in Bangalore, 3 years ago before the pandemic time, in 2019. I really enjoyed it. I was doing Delhi there, but it's a real pleasure to have you there and to share with you all the things there.
Do you have any queries?
Feedback.
Any feedback?
Very motivational.
Sir,
Yes, hello.
actually your session was very impressive, sir. Very impressive, sir. Actually, we can't understand some words. Sorry, sir. It was very impressive and very motivating. So thank you for sharing your views about education society.
Thank you to you for the attention and thank you to be there.
Yeah, okay, sir. Yeah. Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
As I told you, you have any comment or questions for the students or for the staff people there, for the teachers and for all the people there, please send to my email and I can answer any question there. It will be a pleasure to have the connections with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable informative information given by you, and also very thank you. And I am the chapter advisor of Education Society. If any help we needed or anything we just want to clarify, we'll keep in touch with you, sir.
Yes, for the student branch, it's really important to have the really good support from the staff or the teachers there, because the teachers used to improve the activities there. We have another that is have a big active student branch in Bangalore. If you like, can connect you with the Bangalore people because they are really active there, and should be really important for you to having synergies there. And of course, to have, for example, in this case, in my university, we have a really active student branch too, and they are really active to working and there.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Will be a pleasure to put you all in contact, and as much as possible, the students, as much as possible as they are active and try to do new things, as they will learn. This is really important to have the engaged people, engaged students there to work with you as the staff and teachers supporting there.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. Sure. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, sir, for your valuable presence and presentation.
Thank you to you for the invitation.
Some other events, sir. In future we will meet with another great event.
Yes.
So when you visit India, kindly visit our college, sir. It is located at Chennai.
Yes. I have in my agenda to go in the future to Chennai because I never been there. I really like India activities there, and I really like. Have a lot of friends from India as well, from other parts of Asia, in Hong Kong and in Japan, in Australia too there. And I like to go there, and probably in the future we can have a visit there to be there. And as of course, I talked to the president of the Education Society, to Edmundo Tobar, and to the next president, Martin Llamas, and they can be there too, because we try to go in when we have some travels and we have some visits there. We try to see the people that is more active in the countries there, and should be really important to us to have you there and to share activities and share information there.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all of you, and a pleasure to be here today. Have a good week and a good weekend, and take care there, and enjoy the activities you're doing with IEEE. Bye-bye there. Thank you very much for attention and for coming. Thank you.